What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledPeople. This story's called Entitled Ex-Friend Wants Me to Break Up with My Partner of 5 Years to Date Her. So a bit of background. I've known Entitled Friend since high school. This was about 4 years ago. The rest of the cast is me, yours truly, partner, my partner and now spouse. So ex-friend and I had recently gotten in touch and we were talking about going to a convention together. We lived in separate states. Partner and ex-friend were mainly in contact doing the planning since it was for my birthday. The only thing I got to plan was the cosplay outfits. It was determined that partner and I would be in the state for a week, and we toured the state for 4 days before going to the convention. Entitled friend, ex-friend knew this, and the plan was to meet up Friday. So the next week finally comes, and we are touring the state when I get a text from Entitled Friend.
Hey, me, I was wondering if you guys could come on Thursday and you could have dinner with my family.
Let me talk to partner and I'll see, since the hotel reservations and events were planned by him. I talked to partner and he said no, just simply because there were no other bookings available at the hotel we booked at the convention we had plans for that day. Hey, Entitled Friend, we can't come any earlier. The hotel is booked up and plus we have plans. We'll see you on Friday as planned. I didn't get a response from Entitled Friend and we left it at that since we were exploring a national park. Friday came around and we checked into our hotel and proceeded to meet up with Entitled Friend. The hotel was also where the convention was.
Hey, me!
She gave me an enthusiastic hug. Hey, Entitled Friend, this is partner. I proceeded to put my arm around him. Hey. We proceeded to walk around the convention, looking at vendors, taking pictures, and having a good time. As the convention went on, Entitled Friend was getting clingy and would try to come between partner and I. We would be holding hands and she would try to walk through them, etc. At first, partner and I brushed it off, thinking she was playing around. She started to get more aggressive, practically trying to drag me away for some girl time. She then brought up having me come for dinner at her house. I told her that partner and I would need to discuss it and see when we would be available. We talked and determined that we would be available on Sunday since we had plans at the convention on Saturday night. Entitled Friend wasn't happy, but seemed to understand at the time. Sunday came and we proceeded to check out of the hotel and enjoyed the last little bit of the convention before heading to Entitled Friend's house. We meet up with her parents and partner had a good conversation with Entitled Friend's dad. Entitled Friend is being super clingy at this point and is practically trying to have me sit in her lap. Partner sees me a little uncomfortable with this. Hey, me, you about ready? We better head out if we want to get home at a decent time. Relieved that he noticed, I say. Oh, right, yes, we need to head out. We tell everyone bye and Entitled Friend says wait and runs off to her room to get something for me.
Here, don't open this until later.
And proceeds to hand me a thick envelope. Okay. I took the envelope and we proceed to pull out of the driveway and on our way home. A while into the long drive home, curiosity got the better of me and I opened the envelope. I read it over and it was a multiple typed page letter confessing her feelings for me and how disrespected Entitled Friend felt and how she deserved her turn since partner got his for 5 years. I'm in shock. She was pretty much coming out to me, which I respected since I'm demisexual myself. I proceeded to message her and stated such, but was not going to break up with partner simply because Entitled Friend wanted her turn. I was hurt. I'm not a ride or a possession. Entitled Friend proceeded to say how partner was emotionally abusive and that she would treat me better. Partner pulled over when he saw how distressed I was, and after I told him what was said, proceeded to text Entitled Friend and stated I was not a ride or a toy and was to be respected. She then texted me that if I wasn't willing to leave partner for Entitled Friend, then she would no longer be my friend. Partner and I proceeded with our drive back home, and we never heard from Entitled Friend again. Partner and I married a year later. That must have been kind of awkward. This story's called Entitled Lady Tries to Steal or Rip My Blanket, so I hit her in the head with my knitting needles. Also forgot to add, I was 22 at the time. So this happened just before Christmas when I was making some chunky blankets for my grandparents and my boyfriend's parents as gifts. And I was using a technique called hand knitting. You can use your hands as needles instead. But because I want to make a decent sized blanket, I don't have enough arm to make it, so I had to use big knitting needles. But these are like the hollow plastic ones you can get at Michael's, not the wooden ones. So around the beginning of December, I was just about to finish the first blanket and haven't started the second one. I had to do a lot of trial and error with the first one, so I was crunched for time. So I started to bring this blanket with me when I go out because I wanted to get it done. So I had gone to the grocery store with my mom and I knew she was gonna be a while, but I didn't want to wait for her in the car. So I went inside with her and sat on the bench at the front and knit. After about 20 minutes, a few rows that had to be unraveled, a woman came up to me and started conversation with me. At this time, I was familiar with entitled people, thanks Reddit, so I was a little weary. This woman looked to be in her 50s and was wearing a very floofy looking winter coat that looks more to show than actually protect from the cold. By the way, this is Canada winter? She asked me what I was making and such, etc. when she asked me if I was selling the blankets and wants to buy the one I was making at that moment. Before I could say no, she started to go grab my blanket. I pulled back and immediately got up and told her no, I wasn't selling and no, she couldn't have this one, and putting away my blanket. She started to scream at me, accusing me of stealing her blanket, and actually succeeded in grabbing my blanket and started to pull. Luckily, I was still holding on to the needle that had my current row on. Let me just say that her pulling on my blanket didn't do much damage, and it just tightens the loops within the blanket and just stretched it out. But I was mad, overwhelmed, and anxious that this woman was trying to take the blanket I was knitting for my grandparents. So I was yelling at this woman to let go of my blanket, and during my overwhelming situation, and she was starting to get physical by pushing and slapping me. So in retort, I grabbed the free needle and whacked her hard on the side of the head with the bottom of the needle, not the pointy part. And in result, she lets go of the blanket and falls to the ground with a look of bewilderment and shock. And as soon as I did that, security showed up right behind and grabbed the woman off the ground, who is now spewing curses at me and at the security to press charges. And I am there, just standing there in a defense position with my knitting needles ready to strike. The manager of the store had seen the whole thing and called security and explained everything to me and asked if I wanted to call the cops and press charges. I blinked a few times. By the way, I have high-functioning autism, so after that ordeal, then to make quick decisions after that, I sort of just broke down, almost like a computer. I looked at the manager and told him no because I didn't want this to get big, all because of a blanket. But the woman was removed from the premise and she was banned from that store and all of the sister stores in the area. And my mom got her whole shopping trip, close to $200 worth of food, almost free. And the manager gave us like almost a half a year's worth of comp groceries for the trouble. So yeah, also to have to explain to my mom why her trip was discounted and why I was flustered was hell in and of itself. My mom was super pissed that that happened. But seriously, this is the first time I have ever encountered an entitled person ever. Edit. Wow, this blew up my phone after waking up. Really shook me. By the way, the woman came back 6 months later while I was working as a cashier at that same store. And that was an interesting encounter to say the least. That's a cute little story. I'm glad that she got swift justice. And that manager's really freaking generous. Jeez. By the way, if a girl ever knitted a blanket for me, that would be so sweet. So yeah, knitting blankets, that's a good idea for a gift. Blankets are nice. So this story's called, Why Do Old People Feel Entitled to Comment on Your Weight and Then Are Pissed When You Clap Back? Hey, folks! Longtime lurker, you know the rest. Based on certain life experiences, I just need to ask, why do old people feel the need to comment on your weight and then are pissed when you clap back? Let me explain what I mean with the following stories. Background. I've generally been a big guy. Had a period where I was fit and physically lost weight and maintained it for years. But the last 10 years, since I got a job as a teacher, it's been a struggle to maintain a work-health balance. I would start doing workouts, cardio, or gym and be consistent for some days or weeks until I get a whole bunch of essays to correct, coupled with school events, etc. So the plans would get derailed for some time and my diet would go out the window too. This lockdown has afforded me time to work on this consistently, so I've lost some weight and I'm still working on it. However, my country's people, especially old people, feel entitled to greet you based on your weight. Story 1. I left work during a free period to pay a bill, which was literally down the street from where I worked. So I'm walking, minding my own business, and some person would shout, "Hey, where are you going with all that weight?" So I reply just as loudly, "To your mom's." I'm too polite to people to tolerate this crap from them. Story 2. Another time I'm walking home from work, 15 minutes, but it is hot, like fry an egg on the sidewalk hot. I live in the Caribbean. It was the start of a new school year and I'm intending to do my afternoon run as soon as I get home, because I know if I wait until evening, I'd lose that motivation. So because of the heat, I'm sweating buckets. I spot an elderly lady I know from my area walking in the opposite direction. I'd usually say, "Good morning," or another pleasant greeting as I pass and be on my way. Before I even get to say that, she says,
Like you need the exercise. Like you need the exercise. I don't know.
Direct quote, no lie. So I pause in shock and then I'm like, screw this in my mind, so I reply, "And you need a facelift." She's angry. I don't care. But she never did that again. Story 3. Just Friday, I called out another old lady on said behavior. So after 4 attempts of her mentioning my weight and me avoiding talking about that with her to send a subtle hint, I eventually asked her, "So answer me this. What is with you old people insisting that you must comment on another person's weight? What kind of reaction were you expecting? I know when I was brought up, I was taught how to greet people properly. Clearly, you were dragged up. So tell me now, what kind of reaction were you really expecting again now?" After some seconds of silence, I said, "I thought so," and I bounced. Clever wording. When I got home, I told my mom, "If an old woman complains to you that I was rude, ask her first what did she say first to earn that." My mom burst into laughter, ended her conversation on the phone immediately, and asked me what happened. I have a great aunt who is still entitled in her own way, and she loves to do this, but I'll post about her in another story. Stay tuned for that. It does see people do the same exact thing. If you're overweight, they'll call you moti, which means fatty. It never ends. It never ends. But then when you start losing weight, they start saying, "Va, look at you. You look so smart." Smart meaning like thin. I'm assuming because nerds are skinny. That's what I'm gathering. This story's called "Karen Won't Help a Blind Man Because He's
Too useless to find it himself.
So this happened to my friend who we'll call Bill. Bill became fully blind in his early 20s from macular degeneration. He's now in his early 50s, and although he does a great job of getting around, he has a seeing eye dog who does a good job of getting him around town. He does have trouble with things sometimes. His hearing is really good, and he can usually recognize my voice and the sound of my power wheelchair. I'm a C4-5 incomplete quadriplegic with an acquired brain injury. The damage to the optic nerve in my brain caused half of one eye to become fully blind, and the rest of my sight was affected. Even though I can see well enough, my hearing is extremely sensitive, and I can hear things from a long way away. A while back, before COVID, I was downtown doing some shopping. I was in the grocery store when I heard some commotion in another aisle, so I went to investigate. I could hear Bill and another woman talking, and as I rounded the corner, it was Bill, his dog standing defensively in front of him, and a textbook Karen standing near the chips and biscuits. Their conversation went something like this. It was a while ago, so the dialogue won't be exact.
"Miss, please, I just..."
Find someone who works here or get your damn dog to find what you want. It's not my fault you're too useless to know where things are.
What? Excuse me? What the heck is your problem?
Oh, goody. It's the cripple parade to the rescue.
Bill, it's OP. Are you okay?
"I asked asked this woman if she could help me find the chips, and she started yelling at me to find it myself.
Bill wears sunglasses, and it's visibly obvious that he's blind. Extremely angry at this point, I say, "What the hell is your problem, ma'am? Wake up with your panties in a twist?" Ignorance and stupidity, although plausible, doesn't count as disabilities. So how about you run along and let me help? Cause clearly I'm more capable of navigating the store than you.
How dare you, you little...
No, ma'am. Stop. Walk away. Now, before I make you. My chair goes much faster than you. You wanna test me?
You...
And she walked away, not knowing if I was bluffing. I wasn't. I helped Bill find everything else he needed, and we didn't see Karen again after that. It takes a lot to make me angry, and rude people are at the top of the list of things that get my goat. It takes a few seconds to help someone, so I don't get why she blew up at him about it. I know it's not Karen's job to help him, but there are better ways to avoid helping someone than yelling and insulting them. What kind of a person would say something like that to someone? That's like incredibly rude. Like, what a freaking jerk. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.